Hello everyone, this is Kubo and this is my laundry talk. Hello, this show is for my language improvement, nothing else. So I will talk whatever I want to. And if you happen to find this channel, welcome. So today I'm going to talk about frustration or anger or customer. I don't know how to categorize this, but I currently work at bank. I used to work in a work at Starbucks, and especially those I work in a front line in a bank, or being cashier for cafe. You face a lot of people's frustrations, a lot of people's spikiness, if that makes any sense. For example, when I was working at Starbucks, we open 5:30, 5 a.m. and people start coming in, and especially in the morning there are a lot of regular customers, so that's their routine. 5:30 in the morning they come to Starbucks, that's their morning routine, and then as a barista, as a worker at Starbucks, you try to remember their order so that they feel welcome, they feel like they're hard, they feel like they're welcomed. That's next level customer experience, so that's what we try to do. But at some point, regular customer takes it for granted, and when I started working for Starbucks, and then I started getting morning shift, and even though they're regulars, and then they're really used to coming in the morning, so most people at Starbucks or at my branch knows what they order, but I don't know because I've just started 3-4 weeks ago, and then I may have seen that person twice or something, but I'm not the level that I can remember their order. And yeah, and then when regular customer come in and say, "Greet, hi, hello again. What can I get you today?" And one of those regulars are like, "What do you mean? I've told you twice already. Why can't you remember? I never order like this." I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just don't remember all of them. So if that'd be very helpful if you give me an order." Maybe my English not that good, so at that time, so that was not a small conversation probably, and that made those customers much more angrier. Whoa, why can't you remember those orders and blah blah blah. And my coworker comes in and helped me, and I could dodge those situations thanks to my partners, the co-workers, colleagues. And it's not rare things to happen, something similar, or it doesn't have to be the regular customers, but the people who comes in and order one coffee, and it took 3-4 minutes. Typically it takes 30 seconds to make, but we were so busy, or I wasn't as quick as other people, so it took time, and then people get really mad. And then if one coffee can make those people that mad, you can imagine how frustrating it could get at the bank. One check can make them mad, so much stronger, and then emotional, and I'm at some point, of course I was afraid and I was scared, but at the same time you kind of learn how to cope those situations. You learn how you de-escalate those situations as well. And but what I wanted to say in this was like I face those situations even though I consider myself like a very calming person. I try not to escalate the situation, but still I experience those. That's what I wanted to say first. And the second thing I'm curious is that what made them so angry? That's something I'm very curious. And most of the time, so first frustration comes from the slowness of the transaction, maybe not smooth as usual. And those frustrations come in like, oh, why does it take so much time today? Usually it's just 10 minutes transaction, but it's taking like 20 minutes today. Like what's going on? Sure, that's the first frustration. But most of the time, once transaction is done, everything goes okay. Like because that's at the end of the day, that's what they wanted to do, and it's done. So like they leave. And in a situation, I can apologize. I'm sorry, taking time. I'm just learning those processes. But I will get you done for you. Just give me a second, and done. But when situation is, or sometimes in the communication in the transaction, point shift sometimes, or depending on the customer, point shifts from completing those transactions to making me or making the frontline colleague feel worse or bad. And that's where the conversation becomes very difficult, because when those shift happens, that's where completing those tasks is not gonna fulfill them anymore. At the point you, as the person who's dealing with that customer, you feel you have to, not have to, but you are expected to feel very bad and apologetic and give them some sort of satisfaction other than completing the transaction. That's where it gets very complicated, and situation could go on really bad. And I just get very curious when it happens, like why are you here, and then when did you forget the reason why you were here? Like you're trying to accomplish these tasks, and then even though it might be taking time or it's not going as well as you wanted, it's done, or you cannot do that transaction because of XYZ reason. So it's not personal, it's never beyond like, what's the word? It's never beyond regulation. That's what I want to say. Like it's not anything personal. People are not trying to make those people's like miserable, right? But because of the rules we have, because of the transaction or the procedure we have to follow, we sometimes required to ask some stuff, or like we have to slow down the procedure, right? And we maybe frontline workers don't want to do that, but sometimes it just happen. And I get really interested, like why those shift happens. And also I mean at the end of the day you can fulfill those people's desire, because it's just you never know until the other person asks you to do certain way, certain things that they wanna happen. And when they're angry, it's really easy to find out, because it's not just one thing, it's gonna be very complicated ideas. Yeah, and again, I'm not complaining because it's naturally happens, and it's, you know, it's not like I'm never like that. It's not like I'm never like that. I've never been in that position as well, and I've started, like, for one example is me and my partner started off with one small thing, like maybe about dishes. Once you start talking about or start complaining about those things, like about dishes, it ends up, it started off like, okay, so you didn't do these dishes, even though I wanted to do it, and conversation can be done that way because those situations are resolved already, you've done or the other person has done, and that should be fine. But your emotional friction is not calmed down yet, so you keep going in other direction, and at that point your purpose has been already shifted from, you know, getting dishes done to something else, and then I'm not relevant to those topics. I've done definitely something similar. But is it because more personal situation, but this is like a bank versus customer, or, you know, coffee shop versus customer? So like there is nothing really, like your barista, or I would say most barista will not try to fuck you up because they don't want to deal with those troubles either. So like you are, you know, in a way you're in the same page, but sometimes, you know, certain things has to happen before the completing transaction, but some customers, some, you know, colleagues cannot take it as business, and then become a personal problems, people versus people. And that's just, you know, it happens to me too, but I just wanted to put it out there, and it's interesting, and I have to keep it in my mind as well. Thank you for watching. Bye now.